So since I'm up here today for a few minutes, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my story. When I was 16 years old, grew up in Washington, D.C., I so badly wanted to drive my little car. Dad had a Buick LeSabre with some fat rims, suede interior, bam! Had my license, I wanted to drive that car so bad. I came home one day, I said, Dad, I gotta get that car. Dad grew up in South Carolina, had a little accent, so sometimes that little southern thing come out of me. Don't be judging me though, okay? I'm just saying, it just be coming out of me sometimes. So I sat down with Daddy on the couch. He said, boy, you want to drive that car? I said, yeah, Dad, I need that car. I need to be rolling up in that joint, like, you know what I mean? He said, all right, let's have a little talk. So we sat on the couch on that particular day. He said, maybe you can drive the car. We got to work on you a little bit. He said, we got to get them grades up, boy. Them C's ain't going to do it. I said, okay, I got you. He said, you got to start making some better choices, too. You got to start reading the good book. Boy, you ain't doing the right thing. I said, Dad, I'm trying. And he said, thirdly, you got to cut that long, curly, greasy hair of yours. You embarrassing Mama. So I said, that's it, Dad. I said, just 3 things and I can drive the LeSabre. He said, yeah, boy. He said, we're going to come back in 6-8 weeks. We're going to figure it out. If you get your stuffs right, maybe I can give you the keys. So I got back 6-7 weeks. I sat on the couch. Dad had his little glasses on. We sat there, and I was feeling good, too. Because I knew, my game was tight. So I sat there, and Dad said, okay. Bam, the grades went up. Check. He said, you've been reading a good book, boy. You're making better choices. Check. He said, but you still ain't do nothing with that curly, nasty, greasy head of yours. And I said, Daddy, when I was reading a good book, I noticed that Samson, John the Baptist, Moses, and even Jesus himself had long hair. And they did okay. And then Dad looked at me and said, hey boy, did you also notice that the men walked everywhere? I said, Dad, oh yes I did. Next day I got a haircut. So Dad had a little perspective back in the day. So I was born in 1969 in Washington, D.C. to a black father and a white mother. 2 years after the Supreme Court legalized interracial marriage in this country, most people don't realize that a black man and a white woman couldn't get married in the U.S. It was illegal. But see, Dad and Mom fell in love in the A&P. Dad was a produce worker at A&P, and Mom used to come in and flirt with him with that red hair and them green eyes. Be all up in his grill. Like I'm kind of being all up in yours right now. Woo. So Mom and Dad fell in love, that kind of juicy kind of love, like that sweet potato. Can't even talk, I'm so excited about Daddy. Damn, Daddy. They fell in love. The problem was, a black man and a white woman in Knoxville, Tennessee in the 60s? That's hot, right? It just so happened that Mama's daddy used to put a little bed sheet on his head and burn crosses on the front yard. So him and his homeboys went looking for my dad, who was rocking the afro back in the day, like Dr. J, back in the 70s. So they came looking for my dad. They were going to have a conversation. They were going to try to understand what love was about. They just happened to have some shotguns in the back of the pickup truck. Fortunately for dear old Dad, they missed him by about 3 minutes at the local bar. Homeboys picked up, called him and said, hey, you may want to get up out of Dodge. Now my mom was 18, my dad was 34. You ain't got to judge, dang. Why are you gonna come at me like that? Dang. So mom and dad decided they had to get up out of Dodge, so they ran to Washington, D.C. And I literally got up in the car, moved to Washington, D.C., which is kind of symbolic in a way, in a lot of ways. Married, fell in love, and had light-skinned, green-eyed me in Sibley Hospital in Washington, D.C. Grew up in a black neighborhood, always feeling like, was I white or was I black? Looked white, but hung out with all African-American kids. I ain't hang out with a white kid till I got to college. At the tender age of 5, I knew there was a difference, though. Came in to kindergarten the first day, and the teacher was sitting like you are right there. And I was nervous, and I was holding my dad. He was rocking the afro, had them bell bottoms on, and we was coming all up there, and the teacher sat down, and she looked up, and she looked down, and she said, "Is your mama here?" As if he was the butler or the groundskeeper or something like that. Why would a black man and a white kid be coming up in here? So at the tender age of 5, I had already felt different. The stares and the looks. Wasn't accepted by grandparents on either side. Never had a birthday card or anything, no Christmas cards. I haven't seen my grandparents in probably 35 years. They still don't accept me. And I'm not here to I'm just saying it is what it is. I grew up with a lot of baggage, folks. Mom had some addiction issues. Dad liked to drink a little too much and put his hands on mom when he came home. So it was tough stuff. Trouble with the fact that I couldn't read till I was 12. Unbeknownst to me, I was dyslexic. And what did they do with the big boys? Any big boys in the room? What did they do with the big boys when you couldn't read? They put a ball in your hand. So they put a ball on my hand, and then when in class they used to take me and put me in they used to come in the little room, and she'd come, Devin, come on. And she grabbed my little hand, and she walked me out right through all my boys. They'd be yelling at me, short bus, short bus. And they put me over here, and I'd do a different curriculum. How do you think that made me feel? Special, yeah, that's what they called me, special. So that's what I grew up with. Unbeknownst to me, I had dyslexia. So I was a bully and a bunch of other stuff. Finally, I got some help. I didn't see a black man carry a briefcase till I was 13 years old. And at that point, I was like, wow, I want some of that. How does a black man get a briefcase in a house? I grew up in a 1-bedroom apartment, and we didn't own anything. So I'd see a black man on the street, and I'd come up, and I'd be 30 questions. Where'd you go to school? What'd you study? Wanted to know everything I could about him to figure out how I could dig my way out of my hole. You see, Dad dropped out of high school in the 9th grade. Mom never finished high school. I was a first-generation college student. I didn't know what it was like. I was trying to find a light switch in a dark room. So finally, I got a conversation with some educated brothers who said, you can be something. You ain't a byproduct of your environment. You're a byproduct of your expectations. See, if they ain't laughing at your dreams ain't big enough. And then everything started to change. They sent me to military school. All boys and Catholic. Wore a military uniform to school, said they are father, then went out and got my shoes and my brass and all that inspected. And right then, everything started to change with me. At that point, I realized the value of education. The easiest way to keep a people oppressed is to keep them ignorant. You want to keep them depressed, suppressed, oppressed? Keep them uneducated. The easiest way. So in that tender moment, I learned to read. I just threw myself into education and books. I read everything. The problem was when you start moving up, sometimes the friends that help you got you there, then they don't want to hang out with you anymore. I look white. People call me an Uncle Tom because I want to go to the library. I'm like, what? So I'm not here to tell everything, folks. I'm just going to share a little bit of my story and some things that help dig my way out of my hole. I get an opportunity to travel the globe and get paid to talk to folks who used to make fun of me now. It's crazy, the irony in that. Wrote a book, did a comic, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But I ain't special. I am you and you are me. There's a couple things here I want to share with you before I get off the stage that helped me kind of recalibrate who I could be. Number one was faith. Faith in upstairs. Every day just realizing that I was meant for something more. Number 2, faith in me that I could do it. And 3, faith that it was worth doing. Now, Demetrius talked about we got an X number of days on this planet. He's right. Now, I don't know what you want to do, what you could do, what you plan to do. The people that I admire were the folks like Rosa Parks and MLK who put it on the line to make the place better for all of us. So I want you to think about it when you walk out of here today. What are you doing to make the place better? You see, when you move up, you got to sometimes send the elevator back down to help others get back up. I'm not here to preach at you. I'm just telling you my story because I think we all can do something a little bit different. Lastly, the thing I want to share with you here before we get off the stage, I thought that I would be happy once I was successful. So I went out with I started making a little bit of money. Then got a big old house, German automobile, some bling, some skinny jeans.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
No, I ain't getting no skinny jeans, bro. I just seen if you was going to see if you was going to hate. I ain't a skinny jean, bro. But what I realized is that we got it all backwards. The formula's backwards. In order to be successful, you got to be happy first.
Right.
See, most of my life I was chasing success when I should have been chasing happy. So what I finally realized is that the most successful people on this planet are the happiest. Because they look around to their left and their right and they're with people they care about. Whether it be cousins or sisters or brothers or loved ones. So I want you to think about that as we continue to chase for more stuff. Sometimes we just need to acknowledge the stuff we got here right now. We celebrate birthdays, and all you have to do is not die for 365 days a year. But we let people walk around us every day who do awesome stuff for us, and we don't even tell them.
Right.
You see, in the age of digital media, I would argue we've lost the art of the connectivity between human beings. I'd rather text you or tweet you or find out what you're doing on Facebook than come across the desk and give you a hug and let you know that you matter. So we got to take it old school sometimes.
Right.
Don't text me or tweet me. Come across and let me know that I mean something to you.
Right.
Can we do that as a group going forward?
Yeah.
And finally, I'm going to tell you a little story. I heard it recently. It was a day like this, and there was 2 kids in South Africa. And they were literally laying on the ground, and they were playing with some rocks. And they were having a grand old time. And lo and behold, some tourists came by, said hi to the kids, and offered some candy for the rocks they were playing with. Now, as you might imagine, just like the kids in this room, they were thrilled and excited to trade some rocks for some candy. And they ran home to their tribe to tell mom and dad, look at all the candy that I had just received. Well, 7 days later, it was discovered that those rocks they were playing with, they were diamonds. You see, those kids had their future in their hands the entire time, and they didn't even realize it. So as I sit with you right now on this Saturday in December, 19 days before Christmas, I would submit to all of you that your future is in your hands. Our collective future is in your hands. Do you realize it? And what are you going to do about it? Mama used to say, you can either find a way or you can find an excuse. There ain't no such thing as bad weather, folks. Only inadequate clothing. So don't come and let's go and do something. I have found, by 46 years on this planet, that the only time that we grow as human beings are when we're a little bit uncomfortable. And Daddy used to say, boy, if you ain't living on the edge, you taking up too much space. So how many of us right now are living on the edge of our comfort zones, doing more than we can?
Right.
Looking left or right. And with that, all good things must end, and so must my time with you. Thank you very much.